House of Commons Committee of Privileges, and it says matter referred on the 21st of April 2022, coordinated campaign of interference in the work of the Privileges Committee. Now, that's what they find that you have been up to in the last few months. They say that they're very concerned indeed about unprecedented and coordinated pressure being placed on committee members, and two of the individuals who mounted the most vociferous attacks, and you are one of them, you and Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, used your own TV show as a platform to do so. Their committee is highlighting all kinds of comments made by you, particularly describing the committee as a kangaroo court, and says you took it upon yourself to undermine procedures of the House of Commons. It's very grave.
So, in the words of Lord Cruddas, if they don't want to be accused of being a kangaroo court, they should stop hopping so much. So I find it absolutely bizarre that I would be accused of coordinating. There was absolutely no coordination. I mean, I did put out a few tweets and I have made a few comments, but there is something much more substantial that's going on here. I'm not sure how interested the public are. I mean, I know the Twitter sphere is, and it runs the news on a slow news day. I'm not sure how interested the public are, but if they are, I think they'll see this for what it is, which is an attempt to close down critical comment or freedom of speech in the House of Commons, which is the mother of all parliaments and our democracy. And I'm
not sure they're talking about free speech in the House of Commons. What they're talking about
is outside.
Is undermining this Privileges Committee inquiry, the whole basis of which is to uphold the integrity and defend the sovereignty of our parliament and effectively to be the bastion and citadel of democracy. And if you're undermining the Privileges Committee, which looks into and was looking in this instance into whether a Prime Minister was lying to Parliament, which is absolutely pivotal. And what they're saying today is that you and Jacob Rees-Mogg and some other people systematically attempted to undermine this inquiry, for which the whole purpose was to, we think, safeguard all that we hold dear.
Well, I disagree with that fundamental point, and I think the committee actually undermined itself far more than a couple of tweets or comments that I did. Firstly, or to begin with, Harriet Harman had already, who chaired the committee, tweeted out 3 times before she chaired the committee that Boris Johnson was guilty.
Hang on, may I just interrupt? We know this and she knows this. And she said, when asked about this, that she then referred herself for examination and said, yes, I have tweeted this. Do you still trust me to do a job of integrity? Am I still somebody that you want to chair this inquiry? Because if you're not, I will stand down. And she was given the full confidence of everybody involved. And they said, yes, we do. So having achieved that state of having the full confidence, how did it behove you to carry on undermining her and indeed to do so just now? Again.
So Harriet Harman is legally trained. She's a solicitor. And I don't think there's any solicitor in the country who would not, other than Harriet Harman, who, of course, is the opposition, who would not have recused themselves from that committee. Any other legally trained individual would have said, not to detractors of Boris Johnson's in the government, shall I continue, because this is what I've done. They wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have gone to detractors because they know they would have been told, yes, it's OK, you go ahead with it. What they would have done was they thought, hang on a second, I am a trained solicitor. I know it is wrong. There is no judge that could find somebody guilty 3 times before a trial starts. Therefore, what I should do is recuse myself from this committee. She didn't do that.
As if you're still taking issue.
Oh, absolutely, I do, yeah.
But with the findings of the committee, when I think that the majority of people considered that the committee was incredibly thorough, enormously punctilious. Gosh, they went into enormous detail about how they reached the conclusions that they reached, and very, very painstaking. And you're quite right, Harriet Harman is legally trained. And I think you can see that in the amount of evidence that she garners, in the way she goes through it. It's not a kind of hit-and-miss slapdash affair at all. I don't think anyone thinks that.
Well, I disagree with you. I don't think it's a slapdash affair at all. You're absolutely right. And, you know, there is a point also here that this committee have brought out this bizarre 5-page report on 7 MPs today. I would have expected that the response they might have given today was a response to the criticism that the person who led the Conservative MPs on that committee, Bernard Jenkin, actually did attend a full-on proper party during lockdown, and then sat in judgment on a Prime Minister who did not attend any party, as the report found, did not actually attend any party. So I find it utterly bizarre that rather than coming out and saying, we have decided that, as the person who led the Conservative MPs on the committee has obviously, we've seen the invitations, we've seen the photographs, attended a party, that his evidence possibly does not validly contribute to the report, and therefore the report is invalid, or we need to rerun the report again. I find it bizarre that somebody who made the comments that Bernard Jenkins made during the entire process is actually found when it completes, well, a day before it completes on the 14th of June, to have been a person attending an actual party.
It strikes me, Nadine,
bizarre.
that you are doubling down and you're doing it with great vehemence. And what you might be doing today is you might be apologising, you might be contrite, you might after a political career spanning so many years, feel an embarrassment or some kind of guilt or some kind of humiliation at being found to have undermined this very important parliamentary process. Because after all, they're not on the committee for a joke. It's not for fun. It's not for preferment. They were supposedly there
I take issue on that point.
to try to uphold the integrity of Parliament. They found Boris, your great fan, you're his fan, he's your fan, you've supported each other loyally throughout absolutely everything. They found him to have lied, and they found him to have done so deliberately. You say they inserted the word recklessly at the last minute, recklessly. They obviously did it for reasons which seem pretty clear. And one of the things that amazes me about this, Nadine, is I remember at the very beginning of COVID, when most people were trembling with fear, at the very beginning, and I remember your own mother getting the illness. And I remember so clearly, because I remember writing a column about it when she did survive the illness. It was the most amazing kind of relief to so many people, all of whom were rooting for you and for her, but all of whom thought, thank God, if Nadine's mother survived, maybe we're not all going to die of it immediately. So it was very personal to you. You're vigorously defending it all the way through. Why?
Because I know the facts, Vanessa, and what you're doing is actually spouting out headlines and a lot of the stuff that goes out on social media and on Twitter sphere, which actually isn't real. So just to correct you on it, because you made a lot of points, but just to correct you on a few of the points that you made. Boris Johnson held no parties. The report didn't find that. And actually, I think a higher authority than the Privileges Committee is the Met Police. And the Met Police They fined him for being sat at his desk when a group of people that he worked with in the same room all day came into his room to wish him happy birthday. They also fined Rishi Sunak, who was one of those people who walked into his room. That's what they fined him for. Those actions were seen and deemed by the police as being necessary for work, in contrary to what you say. But also they were deemed by HR experts as being at a time when they were in a bunker, locked down in number 10, the engine room of the country, keeping the country running, keeping food on our shelves, keeping PPE on the tarmacs landing from Turkey, keeping our ventilators going into ICU units.
You're accusing me of using a few headlines. I mean, keeping the food on the shelves. I think I was broadcasting on Radio
Vanessa,
2 to key workers every morning at 4 a.m. And I think the people driving the delivery vans were the people putting the food on the shelves. I think the people mending the motorways were the people making sure that the food could be... Now, I would like to know, for example, whether Boris was the puppet master of this campaign, which this committee
Vanessa, I think I have to finish the last point.
What, that Boris was responsible for food on the shelves? And
well, actually, Vanessa, all the policies which were developed to enable supermarkets to continue to keep operating and to keep the food chain, the supply chain going, all came out of number 10 during that time. Otherwise, the country would have ground to a halt. They said that when he went to the dispatch box, he was advised that the leaving functions that he had stood in the doorway of, which the Met Police had said, no, that's fine, we're not fining you for that. That when he was sat at his desk and the Met Police, they said he was advised by people like Sue Gray and others, no, everything that's been done, you've done, has been compliant. I'm not saying that there weren't parties in number 10, but what I am saying is they were completely beyond the knowledge of Boris Johnson, who, when they took place, was not even in the building.
The last time I spoke to you, you said that you were resigning as an MP with immediate effect. That was at 10 to 4 a couple of Fridays ago. But you haven't. Why haven't you?
So I'm just waiting for some documentation that I need to receive. And so, which will be coming to me soon, and then I will do that then. So I will definitely not be standing at the next election. I'll be gone long before the next election, but I will be doing it very soon. Because, Vanessa, there's a point that one of the many points that you just made, if I can answer. You asked me, am I fed up of this? No, I will never get fed up of speaking the truth. I will never allow myself, I did not go to Westminster to watch processes take place, to watch statements made, which are a corruption of the truth. And that's why I'm waiting at the moment until I press the button. I've resigned. I've let people know I'm resigning. My predecessor has.
Did say
the next candidate has been appointed. He's ready to take over.
Do you think that this report contaminates your legacy? Because last time I spoke to you, you were very proud of your legacy.
No, and I'm still incredibly proud of my legacy, but I don't think it's finished because I vehemently believe that defending the truth of what happened, I think it's incredibly important. I don't think this Privileges Committee, it's not over yet. I know you're fed up with it. I know lots of people are fed up with it, but it isn't over yet because there is no committee of MPs who should be allowed to distort the truth and to overrule democracy in a way that this Privileges Committee has.
You know what
it was an absolute kangaroo court, and it cannot be allowed, its findings, to continue without the truth having been given its day to be aired, which will come, it will happen.
But it is extraordinary, isn't it?
And this report is about shutting that down.
And conscientiously researched and conducted report.
No, it's not.
That you say, as if you are the sole custodian of the truth.
Well, there are 7 of us.
It's a pack of lies.
There are 7 of us.
Yeah, well, only 7, and you've been castigated roundly, personally, for undermining this. And what the committee finds as a result of the whole thing is that if this kind of mutinous sabotage takes place, then Parliament won't be able to safeguard itself. And what will have to happen is some kind of external body will have to come in. Just imagine that, the cumbersome nature of that. Oh, you would prefer that?
So, oh my God, yes. So now we can talk about something serious. So first of all, I think they need to grow up and put their big girl and boy pants on and stop crying about Hurty words. This is a democracy we live in where free speech reigns. They really need to get over themselves. Secondly, I absolutely agree that the Privileges Committee has proven in its report that MPs cannot mark their own homework. They think they're above the law.
Right,
I think this Privileges Committee...
We've got to call time on this interview, and thank you very much indeed. It's